as business owners, what we want most is to provide a wonderful quality of service, especially as service-based business owners. When we provide good service, people come back and purchase our services again. We get great results and we build great relationships. And one of the things that so many of my clients struggle with is how to maintain a wonderful quality of service without sacrificing themselves in the process. Boundaries get blurred, and it's a whole mess of events. And one of the things that really kills quality of service that a lot of women don't recognize is maintaining a quick response time. So if I were to ask you, do you believe that a good service is the one with the quickest response time? Would you file under your perception and your beliefs of what a good service is? Would the promptness of the response be part of that? And for most of us, it would be yes. And so we've been rewarded for prompt communication, and we ourselves as consumers like when we get things answered quickly, right? So I had a client in particular, and I still remember we were sitting in a session and she was walking through her overwhelm and just being pulled in so many different directions, managing her team, dealing with client issues, being pulled in all directions all across the board, right? And I remember her discomfort when I asked her to delete her business email from her phone. She kind of stared back at me like a deer in headlights. And I knew that she was working through fears in her head of, oh my gosh, if I don't have that on my phone, like what will happen, right? I knew that if she didn't do things in her business differently than the way that she was doing them right now, that her health would continue to decline, that her relationships would continue to be disconnected. And this is kind of the dark side that not a lot of people talk about, especially when you get to an established or elite level business to where you're managing big day-to-day operations and a larger team and larger sums of money. There is a lot of sacrifice that people have normalized and become okay with that actually shouldn't be there. So specifically today, what I want to address with you is how maintaining this quick response time is killing your quality of service, right? Feeling like we need to be on all the time. It's emotionally exhausting. It creates mental fatigue, and it truly prevents us from doing our best work. So most people believe that a quicker response time is better. We believe this because we're told a quicker response time is better. We are impatient people. We want what we want. We want it right now. And so much of sales has been built on urgency and scarcity and all of these things that ingrain fear that if we don't move fast enough, we're going to lose. So we're conditioned as business leaders to relate our quality of service to the timeliness of our service. And before you're like, okay, well, you have to be timely, that matters. Absolutely. But there's a balance in all things. I'm going to get into that. But believing that a quick response time makes us ahead of our competition is why so many people are burnout, is why people are living in constant fear, why people are tied to their email inboxes from morning to night and unable to shut off. Nobody wants to miss an opportunity. So for too long, a quick response time has been such a measurement and a marker of good service. But here's the reality. We aren't giving our best quality service to our people when we respond from a place of fear, which is exactly what we do when we step on our team's toes to respond faster or ignore our families to answer something that could wait another hour or 24 hours. So we build and condition ourselves to where we are constantly just reacting. And that is the problem. Maintaining a quick response time in your business and keeping turnaround times very tight is actually lessening the quality that you are giving and probably affecting your retention rates. When you're responding out of fear, it's reacting instead of creating and having the space to create a proactive response. The problem is your fear of losing or missing out, and it's controlling how you're living your days. Instead of you being in the driver's seat of your life and your business, we forget that we have control. And we forget that we add to our plates and to our calendars what is there. We forget that we are the filter for that, and that is our choice. So if we want to provide better quality, if we want to increase retention rates, if we want to do that without the self-sacrifice, without feeling like we're always on, how do we do that? You increase your quality by giving yourself the space and time to formulate an actual response versus living in that reactive state. So giving yourself this time and space, what happens is when we don't have it, fear is driving the bus, right? So when you want to have a service that retains clients, that gets you referrals, that makes a true impact in the world, you literally cannot do that if you are in a constant state of reactivity. If you're just shouting things back, right? If you there's tabs open in your brain, your kids are yelling, you're just like, do this, do this, do this, do this. Okay, stop that, go there, do this, whatever. Versus if you're able to step out of it, if you're able to take a breather, right, to walk away from the situation, then you're like, okay, this is the real problem. This is where the dysfunction is coming from. And so when we live in that constant state of this came in and I need to respond right now, we are not giving ourselves that space to be able to formulate and pull from our true expertise, our true experience. And so then the receiver of that may get a quick response, but it's not the best response. So you really have to decide, what kind of business do you want to be? Do you want to be the fastest, or do you want to be the best? Do you want to maintain an elite quality of service that retains people so you're not constantly chasing the next sale? Or do you just want to be the fastest to where everything is a race forward, right? So what would happen if, instead of running to be the first one to put out the fire, you let it burn, simmer for a little longer so that you can show your team that you trust them, so that you could put your heads together to formulate a better and higher quality response that will then prevent future fires? Because a lot of times when I'm working with business owners, things that are fires that have to be put out, that we feel the most inclined to respond quickly to, are things that are repetitive. And so if we're constantly just putting a Band-Aid on it, we're not creating a sustainable solution, which means it will recur, which means we never get to stop seeing that problem. Right? So the goal as a business owner is to provide the highest quality of service, the best product, and the most excellent experience. But how can you create that, see that, or lead your team clearly if you're standing in the burning building? And that's where a lot of business owners are leading from, is it's just scattered and a mess, and there's fires and there's stuff everywhere, and it's disorganized in your brain. And also that floats into everything in your business. So you can't lead effectively, you can't make decisions effectively if there is not that clarity, and that clarity requires space. So responding as quickly as possible is doing you and your clients a disservice, which is funny because we believe, right, that a quicker response time is better. But think about this for a minute. If you're on the receiving end of something, would you rather get a quick response that may, give you some sort of answer, or would you rather wait a little bit and get a more detailed response that actually makes you think or solves the problem or helps you further experience whatever it is that you're walking through? So it's just missing the point, right? So we have to pave a new way. We have to, as leaders, as CEOs, as mothers, as business owners, it's our duty to rewrite the way that work looks, the way that we do business, and what's going to be best for the future. If we continue down the traditional path of faster is better, that leaves us in this, these burnout cycles, the chronic overwhelm, the feelings of scatteredness, the disorganization, the dysfunction, whether that's within the business or outside of it, because they always connect, right? So what do we need to do, right? So we need to normalize longer turnaround times on projects for the sake of higher quality work. Think about deliverables. Think about when you do your best work, no matter, what you're providing. For me, if I'm, reviewing documents, or if I'm, working through organizing a new team structure for one of my clients, I need to be clear. I need space. That's not something I can just call out, in 30 seconds. So think about the projects, the deliverables, the things that you're providing and that are coming from your business, and you want them to be high quality, right? So you need time and space to do that. So when you are taking on, whether it's projects, clients, anything, think about, okay, knowing that these are the deliverables, knowing this is the path forward, what does that timeline need to look like for me to do that higher quality work, right? We also need to normalize shorter work hours for our mental health. Working long hours is, at this point, it's funny to me that we're still having this conversation, but as driven, ambitious women, it's hard to turn off, especially when we love our work. But we do need to normalize these shorter work hours. There is so much clarity that comes from being outside of your business and living your life. So let's also normalize white space being a requirement for our calendars, because our creativity and the bigger vision that we have, and being required to be the visionary of our company, that is required, right? We need to be able to see the bigger picture, and we can't do that inside a burning building. So let's normalize that we have space, whether that's space between meetings, days where we do no calls at all. I have lots of opinions, and I'm not going to go down that track right now since we're focusing on the response time today. But let's normalize that white space being a requirement. Let's also normalize reading and gathering data and formulating a well thought out response that isn't rushed because we're afraid of making somebody mad or letting somebody down. I would much rather somebody take the time to give me accurate data and depth of care than just a quick turnaround, right? And let's normalize that the way forward and the path that we need to lead as women is a path in which, when something comes in, we naturally have time to sit and think about and create, instead of being in constant problem solving mode. Because again, it's just feeding fear and feeding reactivity. Living in reactivity decreases your quality. Let's remember the responsibilities that we have. And let's remember that the reason why we're doing this work, the reason why we care, and the reason why we're trying to make a bigger impact and build these businesses and scale them is because of our why, because we want to be good providers, right? And so if you are so drained from your work that you can't also provide the love and the care that your relationships need, that's not a way to work. And we don't have to work that way, right? So if you are in a position in your business and you're constantly responding to everyone and everything around you, you definitely feel tied to your email inbox, you feel afraid to turn off. Here are a few things. This is a starting point for you. Some of these things might scare you, but I promise you that if you implement these things, much like my clients do, it will be a game changer for how you feel and how you are able to respond and show up. So removing your business email from your phone, anyone that really needs you knows how to find you. You know what I mean? So much urgency is created in our own minds that is not real. Being able to discern between what is actually urgent and what is self-imposed urgency because of fear, because we're afraid of making somebody mad, because we don't want to let people down. That is so important. Understanding that not answering an email as soon as it comes in, waiting till the next day, having a day, one day of the week that you answer your emails, you can create that for yourself. The second thing is raising your standards and changing your expectations in your actual operations. Setting those expectations up front to where instead of maybe a 24-hour response time, you have a 48 to 72-hour response. This is something that you can actually put. One of my clients has put this in her email signature. She has something after we worked together, she added it. It's so beautiful. It's something to the effect of, to promote and create work-life balance for our business, we promise to answer emails. I think it's 48 to 72 hours. And I'm like, that's so beautiful, right? Because I think 24 hours, even with that, you know, when we have a lot of responsibilities, that's a quick turnaround time. So thinking about for anything that you do in the operations side of your business, what is the expectation that you're setting up front? You know, if you're talking about actual deliverables of projects, whether that's, you know, I have a lot of marketing agency owners. So those type of projects, really thinking like for your team to do their best work, do you really want to deliver that like in a week turnaround time? Because you have reviews, you need feedback, you know, revisions, all those things, to where it's like, let's bring down that urgency, right? And then creating and holding boundaries around your work schedule, giving yourself the permission to close up for the day when you still have stuff on your to-do list. As moms and business owners, our to-do list will never be done. So just letting go of that expectation, just knowing that no matter what, there will always be things on my to-do list. That was really freeing for me, to where it's like every single day, there's going to be something I didn't get to, and I'm going to make peace with that. As long as I'm getting to the things that are most priority and most urgent, and as long as I have a plan for those other things, which is why organizing your time and your schedule is so important, which I will definitely talk about in another video. So create and hold the boundaries that you set for your work schedule. Give yourself permission to be done when you're done, even if things are not all done. Think about the personal information that you put out there. I personally have a boundary around my phone number. You know, if somebody is texting me work-related things, it doesn't feel good to me. So, you know, I'm happy to do that in email. But so just thinking about different ways, whether even if you have, you know, a work phone instead, that is also ideal. So I saw a client once had an out of office email and put her phone number in there. I'm like, you are on vacation and you're telling people they can call you. That's a no fly, right? So, and then the last thing that's super helpful is just utilizing do not disturb on your phone. One of the things about being able to have that clear space is we want to remove distractions as much as possible. And when we have businesses with a lot of moving parts, there's always something pulling at us. So if we can turn off any distractions and have like clear focus time, that's always helpful. I love do not disturb, and will always use that in my work blocks that I have set. So Hopefully this has helped you today to see how a quick response time is not better and how it's actually killing your quality of service. And it's allowed you to think about things that you want to implement differently in your business, as many as my clients have. And let's just make a promise as leaders and as mothers to start normalizing that time to formulate high quality and more efficient responses and giving better service, because we actually take the time necessary to give the best response instead of the fastest response. So let's focus more on the quality on, and your clients will reap the benefits, and so will you. So let's be all done with sacrificing our quality of life to maintain that quick response time. Let's put some new boundaries and new expectations in place. And if you need help, you know where to find me. You can book a call at any time. I hope this is helpful. Please send me any questions that you have, and I will talk to you guys soon.